Have you ever heard the old saying that a conservative is just a liberal who got mugged? Well, I got mugged to the tune of $60,000 a year. It's called tuition.
Okay, I'm
Like
sorry.
everyone
Can
who
we
cons
pause
themselves
this?
into attending a liberal arts college, I was
I know we're like less than 20 seconds in, but I'm confused. She left the. I mean, I agree. She was mugged by the college tuition, but what am I missing here, guys?
I mean, I guess to be fair, I don't know what she started as, so we're gonna see. I don't know if she was like an anarcho-syndicalist or something, but college made her a conservative. So I guess to deal with the problem of high tuition somehow, becoming a conservative is gonna hold the answers for her.
I mean, I don't know. I'm a simple man. I just tend to think that Bernie Sanders wanted to eliminate college tuition, have tuition-free public higher education. So if you think tuition's being mugged, I mean, maybe that would be your guy. I certainly don't understand how that would lead to being a conservative, but maybe they'll start making more sense.
All right, let's see.
was captivated by the idea of changing the world. I would immerse myself in a diverse pool of academic thought, theory, and action. Well, it didn't quite work out that way. Over the course of 4 years, I was transformed from a plucky, free-thinking, free spirit into a cranky, get-off-my-lawn conservative. The process started not long after I arrived at my elite East Coast school. I thought I was there to expand my knowledge of the world, to debate the great ideas. I soon realized, however, that my professors had something else in mind. Invariably, each class followed the same monotonous ritual. Identify a problem, say racism, blow it up beyond all proportion, blame the problem on the white majority culture, and then offer an unworkable solution, usually involving the government. Everywhere I turned, I saw political correctness. At first, I just rolled with it. Then I got annoyed. Then it started to tick me off. I was being brainwashed, indoctrinated, and I was paying for the privilege with borrowed money. Almost every speaker who came to campus was a leftist journalist, a leftist activist, or a leftist professor.
Okay, I just want to stop there because Tucker Max came to my school, Johns Hopkins, while I was there, and we had we didn't exactly have Noam Chomsky every other day coming to speak for our events. I mean, I'm just very curious what school they went to, but that just
I will say at Western Michigan University in either 2004 or 2005. I'm very old. We had Pat Buchanan come speak once memorably.
So, no liberal Pat Buchanan.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe they have a boring list of speakers, whatever rich kid school she went to. But it seems to me there are a lot of American colleges that do in fact have a wide range of people come speak.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I don't remember my formal logic class being the answer to this one is found in government intervention because to deal with the white majority. I mean, more classes like that would have been cool, honestly. I wish I had more classes like that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, not even my formal logic classes included that, so I can't really imagine that anybody else's did.
Yeah, actually, I have seen this video, so I'm very excited for people to see her description of who came to her college. Let's get.
Oh yeah, and what's her name? Michelle Malkin, I think, came once also. So again, some non-leftists on that list.
Tell me, Ben. Maybe college has changed a little bit since you went, but tell me after we watch her cavalcade of campus speakers if it was anything similar to yours.
Okay.
Professor from another leftist school. The ones who weren't leftists were just weird. One time, I attended a film lecture given by a very skilled paraplegic adult film star who showed us some of her art. Another time, I went to a performance given by a woman who engaged in autoeroticism behind a curtain. I couldn't deal with it. The PC culture, the mono-thinking, the weirdness. I needed some way to cope. So I got high almost every day. Parenthetically, most of the worst stoners I knew are now working in finance or politics. In fact, this is what made me first realize that I was a fan of limited government. I do not trust these goofs to make policy. Their power must be constrained.
Oh my God. That's, like, if you're trying, like, some of these videos, you can predict what the fuck is about to happen, but try to, every sentence after the next just gets more and more. Like, she had the keys to the most amazing college experience I've ever heard, and she just threw it away.
I know. I mean, like, I went to art school and I don't remember any of that kind of stuff happening. I mean, like, yeah, no, it happened in the dorm rooms. I mean, trust me, I was there for some of that, but
sure.
not as a performance. I mean, geez.
Yeah, it's also weird because, I mean, okay, yes, first of all, none of the college, I mean, I went to a bunch of colleges, right? You know, like none of them, undergrad, master's, PhD, like none of those places had any events nearly as cool as what she's describing. But also it's, and also I thought it was kind of funny that even the ones who weren't leftists, so I guess the paraplegic adult film star maybe was Republican, but which, you know, would be a good twist. But otherwise, like, okay, notice that she's like tut-tutting about the adult film star just before she says that she hated the like PC monoculture, right? So like she's like trying to have it both ways here. That's like both like, oh, people are running wild and they can do whatever they want and it's awful and I want this stuff to be censored.
Yeah,
and
there's two things I hate: PC culture and weirdness. Like, it reminds me of the like Austin Powers joke of like, I hate people who discriminate against other cultures and the Dutch. Like, what do you? No, exactly. So what do you want? Like,
right? Yeah, I hate censorship and monoculture. Censorship, monoculture, and events that seem too weird. Those are the three things that I can't stand. Exactly. Okay. I'm also. It's also a little unclear. She's a fan of limited government, but you know, I would think the natural follow-up would be, and therefore I understand that nobody should be arrested for doing what these people are doing. But that's not where she seems to be going with this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious. I'm. You know, it's funny to think about the person who's like taking notes on this, who's like following her logic of like. I mean, obviously, it's going for an emotional response, I guess. It's really just for people who are like, okay, college is filled with heathens. Is basically like the audience, I'm guessing. All right.
It sounds great. I go back to school if that's true.
Yeah, I don't deny the weirdness.
I want to go to this school.
When she said college is filled with weirdness, I definitely I'm like mea culpa.
Sign me back up.
This brings me to another black hole in the college experience: useless majors, the only thing more pervasive than marijuana and irresponsible future leaders. I'm not being judgmental here. I have a degree in film and media studies and political science. Why did I choose them? They're subjects I like talking about. Practical, right? But I wasn't alone. Most of my peers also chose to spend their student loan money on subjects better learned on YouTube or Turner Classic
Movies.
Movies.
What was that thesis?
By the time graduation approached, none of us had developed any actual job skills. And people want to raise taxes to pay for free college for everyone? Are you kidding me? No.
Okay, so on the one hand, all of the pot smoking layabouts she knew from college have like awesome jobs now, right? I heard that earlier, that you know that they're like some of the most powerful people in the country. And on the other hand, nobody graduated with any job skills. I mean, I'm struggling with that one a little bit.
So if you, in order to write your, what was it, like Star Trek smoking weed thesis, I guess she's saying you'd be better off watching Turner Classic Movies to get the high.
Do they cover that in Turner Classic Movie?
Yeah, it was like a weird, like, this is strengthening my thesis that this is for old people. Like, who watches, like, yeah, like my dad and I watch a lot of TCM when I'm home, you know what I mean? So I think there's some blatant pandering going on because I don't know anyone under the age of like 60 that is like really into TCM, even though they do have some good old.
No,
there's some good movies on there.
I have nothing bad to say on Turner Classic Movies, but I also don't think that she would learn what she wanted to about weed Star Trek from TCM. Also, notice that the video started with college costs too much. And the thing she just said before we paused was, oh my God, people want to make college free so everybody can do this? Never. Like, you just like.
Yeah. I think it's heading toward like abolish college. I think that's like where that's my
we
guess.
just shouldn't have college. That's going to be
I think that's kind of what they're going for.
Oh, right. Okay. So the solution
Just
here
have
is
trade schools.
And have TV networks and trade schools to teach you the relevant content. She's an abolitionist, I think. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's because otherwise it's confusing, right? Like does it cost too much, or should it cost a lot of money? The government shouldn't help at all. Should there be something in between this and free college? But I understand now, right? We're just going to declare Prager U year 0 and get rid of all the eggheads.
Well, the only university will be Prager University, right? That'll be the only school. Yeah, because you're right. There's like an implicit premise that college would be good if it prepared you for the right stuff, but it doesn't. So, all right.
Wait, what job skills do I get from watching Prager U videos?
I think for stand-up comedy.
Okay.
All right. Let's finish up the video.
Just no. I'd only give a free education to a smart kid who promised to get a degree in whatever the exact opposite of my degree is. And that degree didn't come cheap. I took on tens of thousands of dollars of debt, but never spent a minute learning how to manage it. No such classes were even offered. I might have actually learned something useful if they had been. I didn't learn about taxes either, other than that the rich should pay their fair share. It was only after college, when I was lucky enough to get my first job, that I discovered the truth. The government takes away a lot of your money. Frankly, it's shocking. And that's not even counting the mandatory $400 a month deduction for my student loans. I'll probably have that albatross around my neck for the rest of my life. Really, I can't believe my peers and I spent so much time shaming conservatives for wanting to lower taxes. A past version of myself would call this desire to keep what I earn selfish. The current, cheerfully realistic version of me knows this. I can spend my money much better than the politically correct stoners who are running the government can. So I guess, in a roundabout way, I did get something of value out of my expensive liberal arts education after all. Common sense. I'm Jay Stevens for Prager University.
All right. So in conclusion, she should wear the albatross of student loans for the rest of her life, because we definitely should raise rich people's taxes to pay for stuff like student loan forgiveness.
Yeah, and I mean, taxes, we were proposing basically a flat tax, right? Where everyone gets hit the same amount no matter what your income level is. And we're not proposing anything to help, the undue burden of those that were swindled into college, which is a real problem. But, I don't really see the solution that she's offering.
No, it just seems like the solution is just like frown and shake your fist at college. I don't like, that's all I got out of that.
Yeah, like what's her degree in? What college did she go to? Like some of that stuff could help.
So I think she said like film and
political science.
And political science, but she never said what college, which would have been a really interesting detail. All right, but the next one, Shirley, and I think we're not going to be able to watch all of this one because there's one I really want to get to before we go to Slovenia. But the next one, I want to at least make sure that we watch the beginning of it, because the one we just watched, that woman was like, all right, she was just annoyed by college, but this next woman has a much more serious complaint.
I wouldn't be caught dead at a Donald Trump rally. I mean, come on. I've given money to Bernie. And yet there I was, February 2020, listening to the President of the United States address a crowd of 11,000 supporters. How in the world did that happen? Well, it all started with knitting. I knit to relax, to escape the drama of real life. But like almost everything nowadays, even knitting has become political, to the point that only those with politically correct views are welcome in the online knitting forums. You think I'm kidding. I wish I were, but I'm not. The online knitting mob is real. And like all mobs...
Okay. That's good enough. I just wanted to watch until we got to the line, the online knitting mob is real. Like, that's... look, people online everywhere are like weird assholes and go after people about nothing, that's, you know, that's pretty universal, right? Like, you know, you've you know, we could do like the speech from Blade Runner. I've seen things on sports Twitter you people wouldn't believe, you know, but like,
but they don't disappear like tears in the rain.
No, they stay forever, so people can then be fired from them 10 years later, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. But also, and you know, and if you want to tell somebody to knock it off, hey, if you're like going after people and you think that you're like serving social justice by doing that, you want to tell people that it's good to knock that off, because it like that like alienates people you might want to win over, then I'm definitely on board with that. But like also, if you're on the other end and you're explaining why you're going from being a Bernie supporter to being a Trump supporter, and the reason, like the thing that balances out, like, I don't know if you guys remember, like Trump was president for 4 years, and yeah, it all seems like a weird fever dream, but like these are all things that happened, right? Like, you know, children were separated from parents by Border Patrol. You know, we assassinated Soleimani and like came closer to the brink of war with Iran, you know, than we ever had before. There's some stuff with COVID that you know, it's that one's getting a little dim, but I remember it being pretty bad.
Bleach, I think, was one of them.
Yes.
Putting bleach under your skin.
So the thing that balances all that out is that at least by becoming a Trump supporter, like this is the good reason, this is the good enough reason to overwhelm all of the harm that Trump did, that she's getting back at the online knitting mob.
Well, I definitely recommend people Googling her and finding her video where she explains why she was canceled by the woke conservative mob. And like, I didn't commit this to memory, but I do think it was because she said that like everyone before they're born chooses what their life is going to be. So technically all Jews chose to die in the Holocaust. So she was canceled. Give the right some credit. Apparently, they canceled her over some of this stuff. But I know we got to get to the next one. Definitely check her out.
Yeah, I should say there is a video where she talks about how she was canceled by the right, but I think we decided that one's officially too mean to play, because like she just seems sort of unwell.
Yeah. So, no, I don't want to like sit here and mock her for that. Like, well, I guess I just did, but I mean, yeah,
you're willing to sit here and mock her a little bit, but like we're not going to watch a minute of that video and then like mock her for the 5 minutes.
No, because this is more like, it's funny that Prager was hosting her. Just this is her on her own individual YouTube channel. I think like anthropologically or sociologically it's interesting, but yeah, like she's just a private individual of this person. So. At this point. So.
I mean, like that first video was on Prager U. That's fair game. Okay. All right. So we've done the pot smoking college kids are terrible. Everybody should watch Turner Classic Movies. Person who left the left. We've done the online knitting mob made her leave the left. Person who left the left. But I don't think we can really talk about people who left the left without talking about the most serious, the most intellectually formidable example. So let's just, you know, I want to be in Slovenia in the next few minutes, but let's just quickly do that.
Do you believe in free speech? Do you believe that people should be judged by their character, not their skin color? Do you believe in freedom of religion? If you believe these things, you're probably not a progressive. You might think you're a progressive. I used to think I was. My show, The Rubin Report, was originally part of the Progressive Young Turks network. Progressives struck me as liberals, but louder. Progressives were the nice guys. They looked out for the little guy. They cared about women and minorities. They embraced change. In short, who wouldn't want to be a progressive? But over the last couple of years, the meaning of the word progressive has changed. Progressives used to say, I may disagree with what you say, but I'll fight to the death for your right to say it. Not
Pretty sure that's a liberal.
Banning speakers whose opinions you don't agree with from college campuses, that's not progressive. Prohibiting any words not approved of as politically correct, that's not progressive. Putting trigger warnings on books, movies, music, anything that might offend people, that's not progressive either. All of this has led me to believe that much of the left is no longer progressive, but regressive. This is one of the reasons I've spent so much time on my show talking about the regressive left. This regressive ideology doesn't judge people as individuals, but as a collective. If you're Black or female or Muslim or Hispanic or member of any other minority group, you're judged differently than the most evil of all things, a white Christian male. The regressive left ranks minority groups in a pecking order to compete in a kind of oppression Olympics. Gold medal goes to the most offended. Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream that his children would be judged by their character and not their skin color was a liberal idea, but these days it's not a progressive ideal. And what about religion?
Okay.
The idea that no one else can tell you what.
Since we, this is our first episode after Martin Luther King Day. I don't think that last statement could go by without comment. First, I want to answer the first two questions. Yes, I do believe in free speech, actually. And two, I completely agree that people should be judged by the content of their character. So does everybody else, by the way. First one might be controversial. Second one absolutely is not, right? Like nobody anywhere is saying otherwise, right? Like if the issue is judging people as people, of course you're going to judge them by the content of their character. I've been really confused for a long time about why conservatives bring that quote up in the way that they do, or what they think what they think the policy implications of that are.
I think it's a way to embrace Martin Luther King without actually getting into all his gross socialism, war is bad, everything, incrementalism is bad, all the other stuff that he said, because that's the only thing they ever talk about.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like the most anodyne statement ever, but it's like, his, he's saying you shouldn't hate anybody because of the color of their skin. Sure, right? Yes, correct. But I think what they're getting out of that is like, oh, you shouldn't have like affirmative action programs because then like something other than, the content, but like, are people really hired based on the content of their character? Like that's the primary criteria, when you interview for a job, is your personal virtue.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think that this involves more something that maybe we on the left do as well at times, which is taking a straw man that is like the worst version of our argument from the worst people, right? Like people who would just like, say like, oh, you like, maybe there exists some tiny percentage of people that are like all white people are inherently evil, right? But it has no like popular basis. But he's like transposing these very, very, very fringe ideas, which is like the dumbest perception of what the left would say, and then trying to like kind of like, I think the slick part is making it seem like is tying it to actual policies, like you're saying, like affirmative action, but really it's a straw man.
Yeah, which actually, it's a little ambiguous because they didn't have the term yet, but Martin Luther King certainly said some things that indicated that he would support basically what we now call affirmative action. There's like a, was it Playboy interview he did like 1965, I want to say, where it says that like special compensation is appropriate, when you've been when you've been held back for such a long time, and etc. Right, and it's at the very least the sort of thing that somebody might say they're supporting. That it's a little unclear what he has in mind, but more importantly, okay, yeah. First, as Andy points out, all of the rest of Martin Luther King's politics are things that like Rubin, or at least this version of Rubin. I think he's actually moved even further to the right since, or whatever. I don't know that Dave Rubin has thoughts, but like the words he says have moved even further to the right.
There are no thoughts in that man's head.
yeah, it's entirely possible. But at least this version of Dave Rubin says, oh, he likes like classical liberalism, like Voltaire. He just doesn't like, this left stuff that's to the left of that. And okay, as Andy says, I mean, Martin Luther King advocated, federal jobs guarantee, universal basic income, massive, housing programs, was very opposed to, the American foreign policy, said, that the United States was the greatest purveyor of violence in the world in his Beyond Vietnam speech. Spent the last few years of his life, or certainly the last part of his life, I'm not sure exactly how long, tried to organize a multiracial poor people's movement, because his analysis was that, the thing now that the Jim Crow laws were gone, in order to eliminate the long-term economic effects of Jim Crow, you needed a multiracial movement to take on poverty per se, in some way that would be much more expansive than LBJ's war on poverty, which was, by the time he was assassinated, I mean, that had kind of run its course, and was assassinated while going to Memphis to support striking workers. So like all of that stuff, I mean, Voltaire didn't support any of that, right? Like that's like, and whatever. I think it's actually a misquote. I think Voltaire didn't say it. I think it's like a biographer, like sort of paraphrasing Voltaire's views, but whatever, let's say simplify and say Voltaire, right? I mean, I'm with Voltaire on free speech. That's nice, right? Like, I don't think it's the only thing that matters. I think that like, healthcare and education and, blah, blah, blah also matter, but like, workers control the means of production, but also like, okay, so he likes free speech so much that he's going to support the Trumpist Republican Party, that the people who are like passing laws in state legislatures to legalize running over protesters with your car, and empowering bureaucrats to fire teachers who say anything that could be interpreted as too close to critical race theory, or questioning core American ideas. Like that doesn't, I'm a simple man. That doesn't sound very free speechy to me.
Yeah, do we know what he says about all the CRT stuff? I mean, I'm not too clued in on what his what his opinions are on that, but
whatever his teleprompter says.
Yeah, my strong guess would be that Dave Rubin's teleprompter is enthusiastically in favor of anti-CRT laws, because I don't think his core audience would like it if his teleprompt had a different view, and I think that is going to be a foolproof mechanism for predicting Dave Rubin's opinions at this point, right? Because in the last couple of years, he has cleaned out all of his, he used to, say, oh, he supported single payer, he's gone back on that. He used to say that he supported abortion rights. He seems to have gone back on that. So I'm pretty sure that anything that makes the old people who like watching him and I mean, I'm not gonna to write checks, right? Like,
yeah.
I think in this particular case we can say that, right? Like I'm usually not the guy who's like, oh, everybody's a grifter, but I mean, like,
Yeah, there's nothing like an evening of watching Turner Classic Movies and writing Dave Rubin another check for moving farther to the right. It's an old person's ideal evening.
You have been watching free public content from Give Them an Argument. To access every single episode of the show, the main show on Monday nights, all of the streams, all of the debate breakdowns, all of the patron-exclusive post-games on Monday nights, all of the patron-exclusive bonus episodes every week, and much, much more, go to patreon.com/Ben Burgis. I cannot resist ending this with, don't be foolish.